Hi, my name is Lori Groh. I'm co-owner at Shoreside Therapies. Today we have Evan Johnson with us, and I just want to welcome you, Evan.
Hi, thank you so much. I am so excited to be joining your team.
Yes, we're excited to have you. And so, Evan, you're new to Shoreside, not new to the therapy world. And I
Mhm.
just want to start out with asking you a bit about who's your ideal client? Who do you primarily see in your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I am not a new therapist. I have been working in a trauma recovery PHP IOP program for about the last 5 years. My ideal client really is anybody who has experienced a traumatic event or multiple traumatic events in their lives. Um, I do primarily work with adults. And I think something that is really important to know is that when people hear the word trauma, they may have a certain image in their mind of what that means, or the diagnosis of PTSD. They may have an image of who gets PTSD,
Right.
whether it's like through combat experiences or um, single event traumas like a really bad car accident or something like that. And I certainly have a lot of experience working with individuals who've had those experiences. But trauma can take so many different forms, whether it's something that was happening on a daily basis throughout a person's childhood, whether it was a single event or something that maybe numbered in the hundreds of traumatic experiences. And so, really, whether it is, combat military trauma, a really bad car accident, a natural disaster, or something like
Mm.
domestic violence or sexual abuse, um, really anybody who is struggling with those sorts of experiences is exactly the type of person that I'm really passionate about working with
Mm.
and helping them to heal through what they've been through.
Yeah, it does sound like that a lot of people hearing the word trauma, there's mixed information out there as well of people maybe
Mhm.
overusing the word, or people maybe not taking their own traumatic experiences seriously or wanting to minimize them. There's a whole lot of different things happening in that area. Is there this kind of a side question, but is there a way for somebody to know, hey, did I think I've had some traumatic experiences. How do I know if it is
Mhm.
actually in that category? Is there a way for somebody to know that?
Yeah. So there are a few different ways that we talk about trauma. And the first way is what we call a criterion A trauma, which is a technical way to talk about it. Or sometimes we say a capital T trauma. So these are the types of experiences that, if you look at the PTSD diagnosis, these are the types of experiences that we know lead some people to those PTSD
Mm,
symptoms. So those are the things like I listed earlier:
hmm.
combat experiences, a really bad accident, a natural disaster, sexual abuse, physical abuse, basically any situation where you or someone that you care about was in danger, or you feared for your life, or you were injured in some way. Um, And then on the other side, we talk
Yeah.
about the non-criterion A traumas, or the lowercase t traumas. And it's not that these experiences are less significant. Um, these tend to be the things that can kind of fly under the radar for some people. So these are experiences like emotional abuse,
Yeah.
bullying, um, can be things like manipulation by a
Hmm.
parent or a partner, living in poverty, those sorts of things that you can't really point to, one event, one day on the
Yeah.
calendar where this happened, but over time they add up and they can lead to a lot of those similar symptoms, like, you know, feeling stuck in the past, depressed
Mhm.
mood, hyper reactivity, maybe even some flashbacks to those experiences.
Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining that. I think that could be so helpful for somebody looking to work with you or really any provider on past trauma.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
helpful.
And I'll just say too that I also really believe that it's not for me to define.
Yeah.
Trauma really is. It's in the eye of the beholder, and it
Mhm.
really is. Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's reaction to their experience is different. Um, so I always view it as, you're the expert on your experience, and I'm the expert on how to heal from that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I love that because that is so true. Where I'd be working with a client, they might experience a very similar situation, and how somebody feels about it could be completely different. And how somebody
Mhm.
sees it and how it affects them can be very, very different. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you started to talk a little bit about your approach, right? But could you
Mhm.
share a bit about your approach to helping?
Yeah, absolutely. So, something I'm really passionate about and I talk about all the time is that when someone experiences a trauma, you know, two things were missing, um, a sense of safety and a sense of control over the situation. And so my approach is, from day one, from the first session, trying to instill that sense of safety and control throughout the entire therapeutic experience. I think
Mhm.
without those things in place, um, we're not going to be able to talk about the really deep stuff that we need to get to. Um, so I really try to take an approach of honesty, of fairness. I try to um, you know let you be the expert of your experience, like I said before, but also provide that feedback, give you something new to think about, a new way to approach a situation, a new way to try to solve a problem. um, but never it's never me forcing you to do something that you aren't ready to do.
Mhm.
For some people, they come in and they feel as if they're ready to get started right away. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the deep stuff. Tell me what to do about it. This is my timeline. I want to get back to work within 2 months,
Mhm.
within a month, whatever it might be. And then for others, it might be, a month or two before we even start talking about the trauma, because let's take some time to build that trust. Let's take some
Yeah.
time to talk about some of the other things that might be more pressing before we get to that deeper stuff.
Yeah.
So I think my approach is really flexible.
Yeah. Yeah. And really focused in on how somebody else's timeline is and how somebody else is going to develop the trust and feelings of safety in the room with you. We can talk. You probably, most people have seen um, videos and TV shows where a therapist is like, this is a safe space, right? But that's not actually how that works. The client has to
Right.
feel that. We don't just announce it's a safe place. The client needs to feel
Yeah.
that and has to feel that in order to process past trauma, in order to process what they're feeling and what they want to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think something I am always asking in sessions is, what do you need? What do you need
Hmm.
right now? Do you need me to give you some direct feedback? Do you need some space to just sit with what we talked about? Do you need me to answer any questions? Do you need to know if this is normal or not? So it's something that I'm asking all the time. And it's also okay if you don't know what you need either. That's
Yeah.
part of my role too, is, well, maybe what we need right now is to just take a step back and
Yeah.
give this some space to breathe.
Yeah. What a wonderful question to be asking. I'm sure clients feel very taken care of in that moment. I know just in general, we're not asking each other in our outside world, people aren't asking each other that question very often. Yeah.
For some people, it's the first time they've been asked that question, so
Yeah.
it can be it
Yeah.
can be scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're there to help if they don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So I'm hearing some strengths already, for
Mhm.
sure. But what are some strengths as a therapist? What would you say your strengths are?
Yeah, I think that something that is really big in the trauma healing world is, as you mentioned earlier, there can be a lot of conflicting information about, what trauma is or how to heal from it. It can be really confusing to know who to trust, who to talk to. And I think one of my big strengths is that I am really devoted to taking an evidence-based approach with everything that I do. Um, so I've had a lot of really extensive training in prolonged exposure therapy, which is one of the APA's top suggested treatments. It has the strongest evidence base that it is an effective therapy for healing from trauma. Um, and then I have also had training in cognitive processing therapy, CPT, which is another alternative approach that some people find helpful. Um, so taking that evidence base, I hope is very reassuring for clients, knowing that
Mhm.
um, they are working with someone who has had a high quality training and isn't selling snake oil or the latest fad
Right.
or some of the like pop psychology that you sometimes see when it comes to trauma treatment.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Something that I also think is unique about me is in my life before becoming a therapist, I actually got my bachelor's degree in philosophy, and this was
Mm.
something that I was really interested in studying, and really had a passion for. And kind of what grew out of that passion was the desire to help people and make a difference in people's lives. So uh, it can be really meaningful sometimes to incorporate some of that philosophy into
Right.
a session and talk about those deeper questions, because
Mhm.
when we're healing from trauma, I think a lot of times um, it's not just the here and now, but we are asking questions about, who am I really, where did I come from to get to where I am today. If I'm not always just coping and getting through the day, what's left? What's
Right.
left when I take off
Right.
that mask that I wear that I've gotten so used to wearing for so long? And I think
Mhm.
having some of those questions about, what does it mean to have an identity? What does it mean to have a set of values that guide you? Can be just an incredible addition to the treatments that we're doing.
Right. I believe that. I believe that. And to be in a space where you're feeling like you can answer some of those questions and probably have more and more questions from that. But I do feel like that's an added piece for sure, because a lot of times when people are talking about themselves, they really do have some of those bigger questions that are much bigger than them, much bigger than their family. What is, what is my purpose? Who am I? What's my identity? All of those things can come up. And knowing that you're comfortable in that space, I think would be very useful for a client.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, what can a client expect to experience in a session with you?
Yeah. A client can expect for me to meet them where they are at on their journey. I think that whether you have some experience already in talking about these things, or whether I may be the first person that you're considering telling your story to, I think that they can expect me to meet them where they're at, to go at a pace that they're comfortable with, um, to be a voice of understanding and acceptance, and then to also provide some direct feedback and nudges in the right
Mhm.
direction when they may need it. You know, part-time part-time listener and then part-time motivator,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take the next step and step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that
Wonderful
they can.
combination. Wonderful
Yeah,
combination.
yeah.
Yeah.
I sure hope so. Yeah. Um, and I do also have a real passion for helping people navigate questions of identity. So whether you identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community, whether you are struggling with questions of spirituality, whatever it might be, I think that you can expect for me to address you, to meet you with a sense of respect and understanding and helping you get to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. I think too, just how you're describing your sessions and who you are as a therapist, you have all these wonderful things that are intersecting, that would give somebody a feeling of not only feeling safe and heard, but also you have all of this additional experience and knowledge and evidence base. It's like the perfect scenario, the perfect scenario for somebody that really wants to work on what they need to work on or what they're choosing to work on. Sounds like you would be an amazing fit for them. And I have one last question.
Okay.
And it is, what are the clients' results after coming to see you? What could they expect afterwards?
Yeah. So in my practice so far, I think clients can expect really good results in terms of healing from their traumas. Trauma is interesting because it is chronic. There's nothing I can say or do to take trauma out. And at the same time, I've worked with so many people who came to me with really severe PTSD symptoms, sometimes hardly being able to leave their house to come and go to therapy in person. And by the time they're done, they're going to the grocery store on a busy Sunday afternoon, and they're able to navigate that themselves. So I think that for many people, they tell me that they've achieved things that they never really thought they'd be able to do.
Yeah.
I think that another thing that's always on my mind as a male therapist is that, unfortunately, a lot of traumas can be perpetrated by males, whether it's a partner or a father figure or something like that. And so working with a male therapist may not be everybody's first choice to talk about some of these topics. And I think that one of the results, one of the things that I hope anybody takes away after they've been working with me is an example of what a healthy relationship with a male can look like and feel like. I think there's so much power in overcoming some of those barriers, and I take it as a really important point of pride for me in my work to be an example of a healthy, safe, caring male.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, one thing clients should know is that they could call and have a consult with you and be in that space. And I think that could be very useful for clients, because you're going to be in that room, and it's so important to know if that energy is feeling good, right? And just knowing you, Evan, so far, when I'm in that room with you, I feel relaxed and calm, so I think that it's an energy that you are also presenting, which is this caring, calm individual that I think for clients, if they're unsure, one of the nice things of offering those free consults is that they can see for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful to hear that. I'm glad that you're feeling that way. It's something that is so important to me. So
Yes. So if anyone would like to reach out to Evan, I'm going to put his email on the bottom of our screen. Feel free to reach out via email, and you can schedule those consults right online at our website, shoresidetherapies.com. Feel free to reach out at any time. And it was good talking to you, Evan.
Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from anyone who would like the chance to talk and potentially work together.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your day. All right. Bye.